A couple of announcements. Then I'm going to offer a few words, and then our Shuso is going to offer her wisdom and insight about the Lojong teachings. This Sunday is an all-day sitting. I would deeply encourage you. Come sit. A really wise thing to do in a time like this. It's refuge. A Sangha is refuge, and we all need refuge. To fly home to our own hearts, to keep flying home to what's true, to fly home to the community of all beings. I'm also second, I never do this, but I'm gonna do it, is Connie Ayers, who's one of our sewing teachers, she's starting a new sewing class for people who want to take Bodhisattva vows, formal vows, with me, with this Sangha. If you've been in this Sangha 2 years or more, and you have considered and have some yearning that you might want to just formally take vows, it's fine if you don't, because you already did. It's just sometimes it's important for people. You should talk to me. I was thinking now's as good a time as any. It'll probably give you something to do. Besides just worry. Okay. When I was at the Buddhist election and the engaged Buddhist election retreat in Nebraska doing canvassing, Alan Sanaki, who is a longtime practitioner, engaged all over the world with engaged Buddhism, active Buddhism that engages in the world. I mean, we all do, but specifically. He talked about bearing the unbearable. I mean, he's witnessed it. We all, most of us have all suffered, but we've had a certain kind of protection around us. And we don't know. So what is this bearing the unbearable? The very good news in this is a bodhisattva. It's like, oh, yummy, yummy, yummy. Yes, they're suffering, but boy, is there suffering. And we don't know. And we don't know what's going to come next. And whichever way you voted, I sense we're all going to find out. Taste bearing the unbearable. So we practice. We practice. Thank goodness. I was going to say thank God. Thank God. Thank Buddha. Thank Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We have practice. We have each other. It's not a small thing, you know? Good karma. So the Lojong teachings, resolve to begin over and over and over. Here we are. We're training in empathy and compassion. The world's giving us plenty to train with. Transforming bad circumstances into the path. This is it. Make practice your whole life. Yes, I will. Study human delusion. It's not just out there, folks. Whatever's out there, find it in here. Practice with it, be with it, breathe with it. Grieve with it. Meet it with compassion and don't know mind and bearing witness. Trust in basic goodness. Sometimes it's a leap of faith. Everyone is a Buddha waking up to be a Buddha. And I will keep coming back, and I vow. I think of all the people that I met when I was canvassing. And talked about it on Tuesday, the young Hispanic man who said, "We got this. We got this. It's just not what we thought. We got each other and we got this." That's a bodhisattva vow. So we are now on assess and extend. How are we doing? Moment after moment. Yeah, that's it. We're human, for goodness sakes. So I thought, and I'm going to be aware of time because I want Gretchen to have plenty of time. She's really worried that she's not going to have enough time. It's a beautiful talk. Is when I was working with Afghan and Iraq veterans, many of them combat veterans, who were bearing the unbearable because they had seen and done things that most of us are protected from. Pema Chodron always spoke to them. And this is start where you are. That's start where you are, start where you are. This is part of her commentary on these slogans, and I thought that I would read you just a little bit. Chapter 14, loving kindness and compassion. All dharmas agree at one point. All the teachings and all the practices are about just one thing. If the way that we protect ourselves is strong, then suffering is really strong too. If the ego or the cocoon starts getting lighter, then suffering is lighter as well. The ego. One might think that we're talking about ego as enemy, about ego as original sin, but this is a very different approach, a much softer approach. Rather than original sin, there's original soft spot. There's original soft spot. The messy stuff that we see in ourselves and that we perceive in the world as violence and cruelty and fear is not the result of some basic badness, but of the fact that we have such a tender, vulnerable, warm heart of bodhicitta that we instinctively protect so that nothing will touch it. This is a life-affirming view. It starts from the point of basic goodness or basic good heart. The problem is that we continually grab the wrong end of the stick. All practice agrees that there's some fundamental pattern that we have in which we're always trying to avoid the unpleasantness and grasp the pleasantness. There seems to be a need to change the fundamental pattern of always protecting against anything touching our soft spot. It's called practice, continuous practice forever. All dharmas agree at one point. You're the only one who knows what is opening and what is closing down. You're the only one who knows. Study the self. When you feel the windows and the doors in your heart shutting down, that's okay. Just breathe. Just be with it, with compassion. The next slogan, of the two witnesses, hold the principal one. Norman says, trust your own eyes, is a saying that one witness is everybody else giving you their feedback and opinions, which is worth listening to. There's some truth in what people say. I personally, for a while, am not going to listen to what anybody has to say, including the pundits. Just need to sit and listen. Where are we? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. The principal witness is yourself. You're the only one who knows when you're opening and when you're closing. You're the only one who knows when you're using things to protect yourself and keep your ego together, and when you're opening and letting things fall apart. letting the world come as it is, working with it rather than struggling against it. You're the only one who knows. We take responsibility so that the appropriate response can arise through each one of us. Another couple minutes. All of the teachings, and particularly the Lojong teachings, are encouraging us. If we find ourselves struggling, when we find ourselves struggling, because we are going to be struggling here. So let that be a moment when we pause and wonder and begin to breathe in, trying to feel what's underneath the struggle. Connect with the heart, the soft spot that's under all that protecting. When you begin to touch your heart, or let your heart be touched, you begin to discover that it's bottomless, that it doesn't have any resolution, that this heart is huge, vast, and limitless. You begin to discover how much warmth and gentleness there is, as well as how much space. Your world seems less solid, more roomy and spacious. The burden lightens. In the beginning, it might feel like sadness. I would say right now, I'd be amazed if it doesn't feel like sadness and grief and a whole range of feelings. Or shaky, accompanied by a lot of fear. But your willingness to feel the fear, to make fear your companion, is growing. You're willing to get to know yourself at this deep level. It begins to turn into a longing to be there for your friends when they're in trouble. I vow to be there for our friends known and unknown when they're in trouble. To be of real help to this poor, aching planet, I vow. Curiously enough, along with this longing and this sadness and this tenderness, there's an immense sense of well-being, unconditional well-being, which doesn't have to anything to do with pleasant or unpleasant, good or bad, hope or fear, disgrace or fame. It's something that simply comes to you when you feel that you can keep your heart open. That's our practice. And you're going to shut down, and I'm going to shut down, and we're going to want to go away, and we're going to want to go forward. And we're all just going to find our way together. We can do this, what bodhisattvas do. Okay, let's sit for 3 breaths. And our dear, brave, courageous, going beyond each moment, stepping into the unknown. Please.
The next slogan is maintain joy, number 21. And Norman adds, and don't lose your sense of humor. I chose it without looking at the calendar and realizing how close it would be to the election and how difficult it will be if what has now happened happens. Maintain joy in the face of this powerful loss. Our work is cut out for us. We can't and shouldn't try to eliminate
Let me
the
just
pain.
check. Can everybody hear?
Maybe a little louder.
Okay, how did that come out? I didn't.
No, you're fine,
We're
just keep
good.
going.
We're good. Okay, all right, let's see. Where were we here? We can't and shouldn't try to eliminate the pain, grief, and fear. Most of us will live with it for the rest of our lives. It's not a simple matter. The joy that the slogan refers to is not the hooray we won kind of happiness. It is quieter and does not reside in the thinking mind. In my reading for this talk, I came across what are called the 8 worldly concerns: happiness versus suffering, fame versus insignificance, praise versus blame, gain versus loss. These are not what we're talking about with the joy we want to maintain. Norman Fisher writes that with this practice, we are capable of facing difficult emotions without so much denial and avoidance. Such feelings as joy and gratitude are never far away. And he goes on to say, so we can begin to imagine that it is possible to keep and extend a joyful feeling even when things are tough. We now know that know that conditions need not necessarily give rise to habitual reactions. To some extent, as we continue to train, we have more and more choice about how we respond to what happens to us. Bad conditions need not destroy our state of mind. Even in the darkest of moments, there's some light. We can maintain our sense of humor, our sense of ease. And this really helps, especially when things are grim. When, through your meditation and slogan practice, you have developed a habitual culture of awareness in your life, when the empty or boundless nature of things is always close at hand and is something that you think about, that you're aware of, when intemperance is no longer something you hate, impermanence, listen, when impermanence is no longer something you're aware of that you hate, it's your good friend. And yes, it is possible to maintain joy and humor most of the time. Also remember that this is a slogan for assessment. Working with it is not a matter of pressuring ourselves to feel joy all the time. When we aren't joyful, when we're depressed or bitter, we need to know that we feel that way, not cover it up with a veneer of fake spiritual joy because someone says we should. The point is that we assess our situation with this slogan: maintain joy and humor. We notice when this is so far, and when it's not. And we assume that when it's not, we have to pay attention and see how to adjust or work with our mind. Maintain joy and humor is a tool designed to help us, not a stick to beat ourselves up with, or an invitation to pretend we are feeling what we actually are not feeling. As we were chanting the Metta Sutta on election night, I heard, I found joy was in there, in let one be easily contented and joyous. And again, may all beings be joyous. It is also part of the word enjoy. I like to think that this kind of joy is the soundtrack of Indra's net, awareness of the loving energy of our universe, the song of ourselves and of the stars. And yet our experience of this can be so hard to maintain. The 1,001 moments of our lives can contain thrilling wonder and dreadful pain. How does this joy relate to equanimity and passion? Can joy be a default? I believe we experience this joyous state of mind in very small things. magical coincidences, moments in nature everywhere around us, seasonal changes, zazen, kinhin, the joy we experience in our bodies as we breathe, enjoying food and water, moving our bodies, resting, sunlight on our skin, a cool breeze, immersion in water, the comfort of relieving ourselves, sharing our truths with those around us, laughing together, a hug, a smile, chanting and singing together, finding comfort in the words and creations of others in art, music, and literature. We can experience these enjoyments, and then our experience can turn on a dime, and we find ourselves feeling pain, fear, and sadness, and at times overwhelming grief. The exquisite dance of energy can seem very far away. This slogan does not call us to deny these feelings. We have them because we are human and tender. These moments, as we are especially experiencing now, are not to be avoided. We face an incredibly challenging situation. The unknowable future will give way to real events day to day, and our practice and our Sangha will be vital. Before the election results, I was working on a personal story about maintaining joy. With your kind permission, I will share it now. While driving to Sangha the other day, I saw the Christmas holiday tent outside Sebastopol Hardware and found myself awash with fear and loathing. I've never been a fan of Christmas time. No happy childhood Christmas memories, recurrent seasonal affective disorder, a deep anger at Christianity, an aversion to the conventional generally, and a not very pretty jealousy of those with large families, comfortable means, big events to attend with beautiful clothes, decorations, dishes, fancy foods, and drinks. It seems that now the overshadowing political loss will make the celebration even a bigger challenge. For so many of us, it has been a trade-off for much of my life between trying to ignore holidays and attempting to find ways to enjoy them on my terms. For some years during my marriage, we hosted a solstice gathering at our home in Sebastopol with no red or green. We had white and silver and purple. We did not put up our Christmas tree until afterwards. Lots of candles. I played the music of George Winston December from Windham Hill rather than well-known Christmas carols and holiday songs, which I found so hard to listen to. I found a photo of the full moon behind a bare tree, which I copied for the flyer invitation and sent to neighbors and friends. We served alcohol, initially Irish coffees, and after the toll on the rugs, switched to champagne and sparkling cider. I called it an optional potluck, making sure that all the basics were covered. And I didn't ask people to RSVP because the same proportion of the people we invited always came, 2/3. And it was always fine. Kids ran up and down the stairs and threw things down our laundry chute. One year, I was able to talk the family into traveling to Mexico over Christmas, going to get away from it. We headed to Cabo San Lucas, flying to Los Angeles initially and then on to Cabo the next day, meeting the eldest Renee in Los Angeles. There was much resistance and negativity, you might say bitching and moaning. But yeah, during the stopover, I was sitting in the motel lobby, hurting with a severe migraine, waiting for Renee to arrive, when over the hotel lobby speaker came Frank Sinatra. There's no place like home for the holidays. remember it well. It was pretty painful at the time. So over the years, we've worked it out so that my kids generally spend Thanksgiving and Christmas Day with their father when they are in town, and I see them Christmas Eve. My sister and I would spend Thanksgiving and Christmas Day together, choosing a Sonoma restaurant from those open for the holidays. Last Thanksgiving, we ate takeout on TV tables, each with a little bouquet I'd made with nasturtiums. And then at Christmas, I brought a ham and scalloped potatoes instead of restaurant food as we again ate in front of her TV. I had bought what was called a paper holiday tree online, which was decorated with paper birds, which I noticed were all Eastern species. They kept falling out of the tree and reappearing when and where least expected in the days following the holiday. She was by then eating very little, and the ham had a long stay in the refrigerator before going to the compost bin. During the time of my sister's passing, I felt deeply tender. Small moments could be incredibly precious, and I found myself hoping that the tenderness might continue as the grief began to resolve. This holiday season will be my first without her, and it looks like the kids will not be around either, so I will be a true holiday orphan. The sight of the over-the-top holiday decor on my way to Sangha brought on a wave of such dread and grief and sorrow, and then inspiration. I will practice the slogan, number 21, to find a way through the holidays this year, maintaining joy without so much negativity, not denying the loneliness when it comes, and allowing the tenderness of grief to come and go. Whew. I think my plan is to do my best at Shuso until the end of the practice period, and then continue practicing with the love and comfort of Dharma Heart Sangha in different ways. I'll decorate my place in my solstice fashion, and I think I'll have another solstice gathering with friends and neighbors during an afternoon with tea and sparkling cider, optional potluck finger food, conversation, and maybe some drumming. I might plan a couple days away in the mountains. I'll listen to Chanticleer one night and my friend's local chorus the next. I'll enjoy a Friendsgiving at a nice restaurant with a dear friend. I'll treasure the seasonal beauty and endure the garishness by turns. I'll watch Jupiter and Mars as they join the stars of the winter constellations in the night sky. I'll reach out to loved ones near and far to share and aspire to be a part of whatever healing is possible. And I've got a poem to share, which I'm going to murder, I share, but I'll do my best to read it well. It's by Allison Luderman, and it was shared by Larry Robinson. Some of you are familiar with him, on election day before the results came in. Holding vigil. My cousin asks if I can describe this moment, the heaviness of it, like sitting outside the operating room when someone you love is in surgery and you're on those awful plastic chairs eating flaming Doritos from the vending machine, which is the only thing that seems appealing to you, dinner-wise, waiting for the moment when the doctor will come out in her scrubs and face mask, which she'll pull down to tell you whether your beloved will live or not. That's how it feels as the hours tick by, and everyone I care about is texting me with the same cold lump of dread in their throat, asking if I'm okay, telling me how scared they are. I suppose in that way, this is a moment of unity, the fact that we are all waiting in the same hospital corridor for the same patient who is on life support. And we're asking each other, will he wake up? Will she be herself? And we're taking turns holding vigil, as families do, and bringing each other coffee from the cafeteria. And some of us think she's going to make it, while others are already planning what they'll wear to the funeral, which is also what happens at times like these. And I tell my cousin, I don't think I can describe this moment heavier than plutonium. But on the other hand, in the grand scheme of things, I mean the whole wide sweep of human history, a soap bubble, because empires are always rising and falling. And whole civilizations die. They do. They get wiped out. This happens all the time. It's just a shock when it happens to your civilization, your country, when it's someone from your family on the respirator. And I don't ask her how she's sleeping or what she thinks about when she wakes at 3 a.m, because she's got 2 daughters, and that's the thing. It's not just us older people. Forget about us. We had our day, and we burned right through it. Gasoline, fast food, cheap clothing. But right now I'm talking about the babies, and not just the human ones, but also the turtles and owls and white tigers, the redwoods, the ozone layer, the icebergs, for the love of God. Every single blessed being on the face of this earth is holding its breath in this moment. And if you're asking, can I describe that, cousin, then I gotta say no. No one can describe it. We all just have to live through it, holding each other's hands. Thank you.
It's okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Gretchen.
So I have a question.
Slow down. I just want to respond. I think sometimes we have some idea that being a spiritual person means that you have it all together. Or that you should look this way or that way. I don't think we remind each other enough that it's about becoming a human being and the kind of courage to be vulnerable and to share, to keep showing up. So I'm so grateful to our Chusseau, who is really resolving to begin over and over and over to be here for us, with us, and to be real. I deeply value. So we have just a little bit of time. We can go together in small groups. You want to say what the question is?
Yeah, it's what is your current experience? Are you finding solace? If so, where?
Say it again, Gretchen. Say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is your current experience? Are you finding solace? If so, where?
And I might add in